What's up guys, DuArktik with another Marvel Strike Force video, and in this video we're gonna talk about Knull. We're gonna talk about the best 3 teams for you to use against Knull and do up to 300 million damage. Now I'm gonna say right away that if you're gonna play on auto, you cannot expect the same level of results. If you're on the same level of results, 300 million around that, you need to play on manual, because otherwise you're going to use your abilities on moments where you don't need them. So that's going to be a problem for you. And overall, some of these teams are mostly approachable. We are using some big characters, of course, like Apocalypse and Odin and Mephisto and all those good characters. But you can at least extrapolate some ideas to use, even if you don't have those characters available. So we're going to break down all that you need to know in order for you to have this level of success. And as always, if you like the information on these videos, make sure to share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe for more Marvel Strike Force content, and make sure to smash that like button like a boss. Okay, so first off, we need to talk about how the Knull fight works and why you need certain characters. So I have this spreadsheet that helps me to put in my mind what works against Knull and what doesn't. And one of the things that you need to realize is that if you have a lot of minions or summons or whatever, Knull is going to take way more turns, and that's not a good thing for you, right? That's something you definitely want to avoid. So you want to use teams that do not have any kind of summons. Then we also don't have the assists working properly. So if you have a team like Night Stalkers that rely on assists from Blade, this is not going to work. So those characters, those type of characters, we have to avoid. Then there is something very important for you to use, is that Knull can be blinded or his accuracy can be reduced for some of his abilities. So that's something that you have to take into consideration. And finally is that Knull has a lot of barrier, and the damage that you are doing for the barrier will not help you progress towards your damage score and towards getting more higher rewards, right? So you need to have at least 1 or 2 characters that can clear barrier from Knull, because otherwise you are attacking that barrier and you just cannot do any damage to him. Okay, so with this in mind, the way we can maximize our damage is in 3 ways. It's with bleeds, because the bleeds count for each of them that ticks on the boss. Then it's by normal attacks, and then counter attacks and retaliation attacks, because every time a character has a turn, you are going to do damage to Knull. You have an opportunity to do damage to Knull. So even on Knull's own turn, you can do up to 1 million against him, and the same goes for the same turn of your character. You have up to 1 million to do damage with him. So it's important that you understand these mechanics. We also have here on the left a list of characters that can clear barrier. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's move on and let's talk about the teams that we're going to use. I'm going to show you the first team, after we're going to jump for the next team and so on, just to make sure that we save time. So let's get started. For the first team that we are going to use, we're going to use Old Man Logan with Extreme X-Men. You want to use this position in this isolate. And once again, depending on your luck, you might get more counterattacks or more buffs or anything like that. There is a lot of RNG on these fights. So if you want to get the best score, you might have to reset a few times just to see what's the range you can get. And the range that I got was around 120 million. But someone with a similar team, actually smaller team than mine, he was able to do 100 and almost 40 million. So there is that range. And you can do additional damage compared to what I did. But this was the setup we used. And we have a speed up on our characters. We have speed bar. We have all kinds of mechanics. We have energy. We have revives. We have counters. So and we have bleeds. So this is all we need to do a lot of damage against Knull. That's all you need. Once again, counters, bleeds, and a lot of damage. That's it. Okay, so it's nothing special. I can talk about it. You guys can see it. We're gonna do as many basics as possible. It's very important for you to do the basic, because many times the basic applies bleeds while the other abilities don't apply as much. And characters like Gambit that provide speed up and evades. You want to make sure that you are using their specials or whatever you have to use in order to keep that speed up going. And also the offense up going. The offense up is not always nice to land or easy to land, but you should try to have it as often as possible. And you can see now on the screen that instead of using the ultimate with Nightcrawler, that I'm going to use the basic, because once again, at the end of the day, it does not matter, because we have to do 1 million damage in one turn. If that 1 million damage is just with one attack or with multiple, it does not matter. You just have to do 1 million damage in one turn. Okay, so other thing that we can do is stack bleeds as many as possible. So characters like Old Man Logan, you want to use him as a striker. The same goes for Sunspot, I think Sunspot. You also want to use him as a striker. And characters like Nightcrawler and Gambit, you want to use them as raiders. In terms of Forge, you can use him whatever you want. I used him as a striker to do a little bit more damage, but it's not significant enough, so keep that in mind. Now, you can see that I'm talking about the abilities, right? So the basic will always apply more bleeds. You want to do the special whenever the minion shows up, so you can kill most of them. And you want to save the ultimate for Old Man Logan only to use when Knull has barrier, because that's the only ability you have that clears barrier. And you don't really need it. Like I said, we are facing one target, so just spamming the basic is going to be pretty good. Now, it's going to be nice for you to have characters that apply offense down, and defense down. Defense down because you can do more damage, and offense down because, well, the boss will do less damage to you. So it's important to do this, and that means that with Sunspot you can pretty much spam his abilities whichever way you want to, because yeah, we need that offense down and we need the defense down as well, plus the bleeds. And that's why you need him as a striker. Okay, so that's pretty much it. You can see that we are burning through Knull. Sometimes Knull bugs out and he gains a little bit too much energy. I think there are a few bugs going on with this game mode where he acts a little bit weird. I had a few times where Knull had no rage charges and he was just one-shotting people left and right. And I'm not sure what's going on about that. So it might be when he's about to die. I experienced that if he's close to dying, that he behaves in a very strange way, while if he's at full health, then he's gonna be fine. So keep that in mind. You can attack and then retreat, and it will not consume your attack. So if you want to do a few tries of practice, you can do that. So after you know exactly what to do. Okay, so one thing that we didn't talk about is that Forge can revive people. So you want to do the special of Forge as often as possible, but ultimate, you really want to use it or when you are about to extend a ton of positive effects, or when you want to revive someone. So you can use it early on in the match, but after that you should save it so you can revive one of your special characters, right? The characters that you want in the middle, Nightcrawler and Gambit, have the highest survivability chance, but you can see right here that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because Knull becomes too powerful whenever he has a bunch of rage charges. And that's pretty much it. So we still have 1 minute left in order to complete this, and every time you are making a decision, the time stops, and that's great because that will allow us to test out different strategies and come up with the highest score possible. So we are about to finish this. We have a little bit more barrier. I was thinking if I should reset it or not. I knew already that this team was going to be very, very solid from the previous week of experience. But this is difficulty 3, so we didn't know for sure if he's gonna cut it or not. But we just went with it, right? We already had like a bunch of damage. At this point, it was like 116 million, so he did a little bit more damage. But now because he has barrier and Forge was about to die, there is not much you can do about it. It's just the way it is. And once again, you want to make sure that you have the special to clear the minions or the ultimate. But you want to save the ultimate for just when the boss has barrier. Okay, so there we go. That's the X-Men team. I don't think there is much more to show. I'm just gonna speed it up so we can finish this and see the final result. which was around 119,000. Okay, so there you go. Old Man Logan dies and revives, and finally he dies for the last time, and then Forge dies as well, and we still have 1 minute left. So if my Old Man Logan was a little bit bigger, and if I would put purple ISO weight on my characters, I would probably be able to do a little bit higher score. And like I said, someone from my alliance with a similar team, actually lower power, he was able to do even more damage than I did. He did close to 140 million damage. Okay, let's see if you can see the end of it. If you pause the game with escape, with the return option, the time will still count, so pay attention to that, because you might think it's safe and it will not be. So there we go, 100 and almost 20 million with Extreme X-Men plus Old Man Logan. Let's take a look now at the second team, and this is the team that we used. You can use this position, or you can use Black Knight in the corner followed by Mephisto. It doesn't really matter too much. What you want to make sure is that your Ancient One stays alive. Ancient One, very important. You can apply counters to the team, also apply some speed ups, and those speed ups are going to be relevant, but it's all about doing bleed damage. So we want to make sure that we have a combination of characters that can apply bleed damage, and that's going to be Black Knight, Mephisto, and also Thanos Endgame. Thanos Endgame is preferable as a striker. Any character that applies bleed is preferable as a striker, because the higher your base damage is, the more bleed damage you are going to do, and striker increases your base damage. So we are going to use striker on both of those characters, but you can use Thanos as a Fortifier, Raider, or whatever else elsewhere in other game modes. And in terms of Moondragon and the Ancient One, we're going to use them as Raiders. Not that like I like the Moondragon as Raider, I prefer Moondragon as a striker, but we need to have energy for the team, and this is the way we managed to do it. Once again, you can still use Black Knight, Mephisto, Thanos together with like Odin or Apocalypse or something like that if you want, but this was the best way for us to maximize the characters we have available. Okay, so let's take a look at this team in action. Once again, the Thanos, at this point, he was maxed out, but on my first attack, I actually did more damage, but I cancelled out before I got Thanos to max stars. So keep that in mind. The Thanos, where I did on the first run, was much lower. It was 6 yellow, 6 red, and the run did 116 million or 117 million, around that. While when I geared up Thanos after with 7 yellow stars, 7 red stars, then I actually did less damage. So once again, it has this RNG component to it that you cannot ever control fully. Okay, so once again, the gist of the team is to use the characters that apply bleeds. You want to use them as often as possible, right? So for that you need speed up, for that you need counters, and you need to attack with their striker ISO 8. And that's gonna be Thanos, Mephisto, and Black Knight. You need to make sure that you use the basic of Ancient One or any other character that we are using to replace her to get rid of those minions, because all the damage that is coming from Thanos and Mephisto need to go towards Knull. Okay, you can see right away that we are demolishing this guy. We are doing a ton of bleeds to him, and we are about deleting him. Sometimes you get very focused on the character on the right side or something like that, so you can mirror the position of your team in order for you to try to flush the RNG of your character. Sometimes it works, other times it doesn't. And you saw there exploit, a trick. It's not an exploit, it's just a trick that if you are using the Ancient One ultimate, you want to attack the character with the most damage, we usually use those minions, and then the Ancient One is going to jump and attack the Knull as well. Other trick about this fight is with a Black Knight. You want to make sure that Black Knight has always two charges. So this was very strange. You can see that Knull just one-shotted my Black Knight and also one-shotted my Thanos. I have no idea what's going on. I still took this run because it was very solid, but Knull was acting very weirdly. But once again, going back to what I was saying, you want to make sure that Black Knight always has 2 charges, so like that you can always clear the barrier. It's very important. Every time Knull has barrier, you are just wasting your damage and your turns, so this is definitely something that you don't want. Once again, the bleeds are extremely important, and the bleeds, they also bypass the barrier, so that's additional damage that we are going to do on Knull even if he has barrier. So this is the case that we are doing right now. I was trying to think, oh, should I use the special or something? But at the end of the day, if you really want to maximize the amount of damage you do, prioritizing bleeds is definitely important. And okay, this is going to be the last attack. Once again, we are going to use the basic of the Ancient One to delete as many minions as possible, while only using the special when you need to buff. And make sure that you pay attention if you have Disrupt or not. And the other characters, you just do what you can. And the Ancient One ultimate, once again, attack the characters with the highest health, not Knull directly, because otherwise you're not gonna be doing the most amount of damage. Okay, so there we go, that was the second attack. And finally we have the last attack, and this was the best team I could come up with. And once again, we are relying on those points that I mentioned before of clearing barrier, having counterattacks, having different mechanics that allows us to survive. And the best team we could do for this is Gwenam, that clears barrier. We have Penny Parker, that gives counters and death proofs for the entire team. We have Apocalypse, that it has his own counters, and he also can clear barrier. He can also give safeguard to our team. We have Odin, that can blind Knull. He also can clear barrier with his ultimate, and he can also buff the team with speed up, defense up, and immunity, I think. And finally, I took Oath, because Oath does a lot of damage, and she can also gain energy whenever you kill characters. So she's gonna be a huge source of damage, while she can keep herself alive just using her special and her basic. In terms of isolate, you should use Odin and Apocalypse as skirmishers. That's going to be the main setup. If you decide to use them as strikers or something else, that's also possible. Penny Parker, striker, is important for extra energy, and Gwenam, she also has to be a striker, because even if you cannot clear the barrier with the basic, you can do it with the ultimate. So you do the ultimate, then striker isolate and clears the barrier. So not only you are clearing the barrier from Knull, but you are also giving barrier to yourself. And like I said, Oath, she does a bunch of bleed damage, so having her as a striker is also important. Let's take a look at the fight. This took 5 hours of research, so I would really appreciate if you guys would smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, so this is how you can get close to 300 million damage against Knull on difficulty 3, and this might change for the next difficulties. Every difficulty is its own challenge. This is also going to work for difficulty 0, 1 and 2, but 4 and 5 we'll have to wait and see, because the damage cap might be a lot higher. So for example, if it would be 4 million, then characters like Doctor Strange would be way better than characters like Apocalypse. So that's something that we have to see in the future, because depending on the damage cap, we also have to adapt our strategy. But once again, this strategy definitely works for difficulties 3 and below, and I hope that will help as many people as possible. Okay, so we are facing Knull. We already killed Knull 1 time by ourselves. We keep destroying this guy. You want to make sure that you alternate the ultimate with the Penny special, and you never want to use the Odin ultimate unless you can blind Knull, or if you want to clear his barrier. So the barrier is the blue bar that you see at the top, and you should only try to blind Knull when you can see the abilities here. They're on gray. So at this point we could blind Knull. Just make sure that he doesn't have like 30 of these rage charges, because otherwise he gains so much energy that you can't do it. Okay, so there we go. We're gonna use you pretty much want to spam the basic of Odin. And once again, we are going to use our Spider-Verse characters to clear that barrier. And also, you can see that there I used the Striker as a weight rather than use the basic. So we can give barrier to Penny Parker and at the same time to Gwenom. Apocalypse with the basic, I kept him in the middle because he has a higher chance of doing the counters and applying vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities is extremely important. I wish I had a little bit more vulnerabilities than I had, but it was okay. And the characters that are giving us buffs, which is Gwenom and Penny Parker, you want to put them in the corners because otherwise they're gonna get targeted more often. Okay, Oath now with the ultimate or with the special, we cannot apply Exposed to Knull, but still the ultimate does a lot of damage plus bleeds. So there we go, and this is our final attack. Not as good as the other ones, but believe me, it was a lot of research. I really tried all kinds of combinations of characters, and once again, this is the only way you can get anywhere near 300 million damage. I already checked out the other content creators, envoys and so on, and they are around the 200 mark, and we are much higher than that. We are at 300 million damage. 300 million damage, and this is not even wailed out characters. If you have wailed out characters, you can do much higher than that. Okay guys, so there we go, that's my record for now. Once again, people from my alliance using the same teams were able to do more damage based on the RNG you got. So if you feel like you didn't achieve enough based on my results, you can reset it a few times and see if you get a higher score. But that's gonna be the video guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the 3 best teams that you can use to beat Knull, and I'm gonna show you just once again to see which teams there are. And once again, this is going to work from difficulty 3 and below, and next week we have to try again and see if they still work or if we need to adjust some of these characters. So we have Extreme X-Men with Old Man Logan. We have the 2 ladies, the 2 bald ladies, plus this bald guy as well, Black Knight and Mephisto. And finally we have Apocalypse, Penny Parker, Gwenom, Odin if you have him, or you can use someone else instead, no problem. You can use, for example, Agatha, that's fine too. And also Oath. This is going to be the 3 teams that are going to allow you to get that 300 million damage mark. So once again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you smash that like button. And if you found the video helpful, make sure to share it with your friends on Facebook and Discord. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe for more Mouse Force content. And I'll catch you guys later.